Deal Digest with Fibonacci X. Today we are discussing the startups from last week which got funded. We usually discuss emerging themes, insights on weekly basis and try to bring you some insights. So let's discuss the startups from last week.
So this week, 31 startups raised funding across early, late, and growth stage. So in early stage, we consider startups who raised from pre-seed to Series A. In growth stage, we consider from Series B to pre-IPO, and in late stage startups, we only consider pre-IPO stage fundraising. So let's start with the growth stage startups. So first is Paymate. So Paymate is basically a B2B platform which streamlines transactions through commercial credit cards. It what it does it actually allows the businesses to automate their payments, which is accounts receivable and payable, and offering short-term credit for better cash flow. They also offer procure to pay automation, credit evaluation, and invoice discounting for the accounts receivable and payable that the companies have. So they raised approximately 261 crores from Crimson Ventures, and in FY24 they have generated a revenue of 1340 crores.
Okay, great. What is next? I don't have anything to add on this, so we can move to the next one. Have they defined the size of companies they are working with? Otherwise, you can't really add any insight. They just say
Uh,
that we are going to do commercial credit card. If you don't know that, then there's no point.
they have not defined the companies that they're working with.
I mean, if we know, like, what target group is, what the specialized target group for them is, then we can probably add insights. But otherwise, I don't know what are the second level details for the actual use case.
Okay. So let's move on to the early stage startups. So the startup that we'll be talking about is called Pluck.
So Plug is a Mumbai-based food and vegetable delivery startup, and they recently raised 85 crores from Gulf Investments. They also acquired a D2C startup, Upnourished, and the startup basically delivers premium fruits, vegetables, ready to eat meals, salads. So if you order a meal today, salad, ready to eat meals and vegetables and fruits. So you get the order by the next day. And they right now they deliver in three cities: Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi. Their competitors are Government Garden, Kisan Connects, Fresh Pluck, and many more. And they also backed by Kareena Kapoor. So she also funded in 2023, but the funding is unclosed right now.
Okay. I'm just thinking, do you remember any sort of, can you see my screen? So if you look at the celebrities backed startups, right, over last few years, which one do you think has done like exceptionally well? I can't remember like a single one. Uh, I mean, except maybe Blue Tokai, which is offline and mostly cafes backed by Deepika. I see some visibility and value creation there, but I don't know if she's doing any ads or promoting. Not sure. Wicked Good by Shilpa, I think that fits. That's more about ready to eat, ready to cook kind of segment. Otherwise, if you see all these startups backed by celebrities, uh, which one do you think has, stood out to you, two of you, in terms of their presence, in terms of their traction, um, anything which you want to add?
So one of the startups that we had spoken about in the previous weeks was Stage, which is backed by Neeraj Chopra. So Stage also revolves around one of our themes, which is Middle India, and it was started in I think 2021, and since then they have onboarded around 4 million customers till date.
And how big is the market? What are the margins? What is the growth trajectory? What is the value creation uplift? Do we know anything?
No.
Okay, then it's not relevant, right? Giving that information. So for me, there are two aspects, two sides to the coin. The first side is that it shows or it proves the depth of the Indian startup ecosystem, that even family offices, celebrities are investing into startups in their private individual capacity or their family offices. The second side is I'm not sure if it is leading to value creation or what value are they bringing to the table, right? Because Bollywood overall has lost its shine if you compare over last 8 to 10 years, right? Bollywood movies are not doing well. Bollywood stars themselves, their brand credibility is not as it used to be. So I think founders should be real careful about bringing in a celebrity, um, especially in D2C brand. I see a lot of inclination of founders to work early on with celebrities. So just be careful if the personality or the person you're bringing in really fits into your brand vision. Number one. Second is what is the real value add, right? So those two things we need to be careful about. So that's my observation, but let's see how it works out. Usually for these startups, I would say we'll have to wait and watch for next 5 to 10 years. Does it lead to any value creation or not? Right. Um, the best example which comes to my mind, which is not included here, is probably Ritik Roshan did one fitness. I think this was HRX or which one was that? Which he right. So
HRX.
there was
Correct.
I think a good there was a
HRX.
good collaboration, right? Because that really fits into who he stands for, what we associate with him. Besides that, nothing really jumps out to me. If you ask me honestly, out of all these brands and all these names, nothing jumps out to me except that HRX, which is like a rare match of a person who's really passionate about fitness, and then he brings that to you. Yeah. So let's move to the next one.
So the next startup that we'll be talking about is Alien Kind. So Alien Kind operates QSR restaurants in Bangalore currently, and they have raised approximately 10 crores from angel investors like Prakash Sikaria, Ravi Iyer, and Arpan Seth. So what Alien Kind does is that it offers juices and burgers to the through their QSR restaurants.
Right. So I think this will be probably will bucket it under Young India theme, probably Gen Z. We see this consumption trend within the QSR space rising. And do we have any other startups in the young theme today?
So the second startup that we have in the young Gen Z theme is that Sweet Karam Coffee, who raised approximately 64 CR from Peak XV and Fireside Ventures. So what Sweet Karam Coffee is doing is that they're offering range of authentic sweets, snacks, filter coffee, and other products based out of South India.
I think both of this, I would say, let me just share some data. Uh, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, let's say, comparing global versus China versus US versus India. Roughly, you would say, roughly at this point, roughly 45 to 50% of India's population is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? which at this scale becomes a huge number. With China, it's only 30% because of this single child policy they had for many number of years. Uh, so this is the positive side of our demographic dividend, that we have this young consumer base which is going to drive a lot of things for us, right? And I think we already discussed it in the last episode how India is a consumption led economy, and that consumption is going to be driven by higher disposable income with millennials, and then new consumption trends which are emerging through Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? Whether we talk about, I think we'll touch upon travel later, electronics, gadget, fast fashion, right? Experiences. All these things are very unique to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? So this is, something which is unique to India, and I think the whole even the global investor community is looking at this closely, how it shapes up and what are the new consumption trends. So now coming to a startup, I think many such brands will emerge. even even at the regional level, you will see outside tier one, the consumption pattern of Gen Z is going to be different from consumption pattern. Let's say Gen Z based out of tier two, tier three, and beyond, and Gen Z based out of tier one. So there are different price points and different kind of brands which will emerge. Right. Some of the things which we can look at is basically your e-retail and online gaming. So online shopping and online gaming are two trends which are uh, sort of emerging out of this. And just to give you an idea, 100 million new e-retail shoppers have emerged, and out of that, 75% is roughly Gen Z, right? So all of this is going to be driven by that. Now, what is the message for brands building for this Gen Z? Gen Alpha, not so much, because I think mostly their parents are making the choices right now. So we don't really know how their personality will shape up because they're too young to make their own choices. But what my suggestion will be for brands to find their authentic voice, because that's what really works for young Indians, right? Second is convenience. So you will find a lot of these brands are doing well on online channels because it's convenient to purchase, right? Single click orders, all those things, right? And community is important, right? Because a lot of your community will drive, you need to gather the feedback, because in a lot of these categories, let's talk about QSR burgers and juices. How do you differentiate? There's nothing unique which you are bringing to the market, right? How is it different from how, let's say, a Burger King or Burger King or McDonald's? There are already these established players. So you're just another brand which is bringing burger, or Chili's or anything else, right? Although all of them have very different positioning, but I think if you have a community, you can actually evolve faster as a brand, because then you are close to the consumer and the feedback loop is cut short, right? Positioning, I think here for Gen Z is something which brands need to think about. Positioning is not your tagline. Positioning is different from marketing. Positioning is different from advertising. Positioning is what appeal do you have for your end consumer, right? In B2C, it's very, very different because most of these choices are based on emotions. So when you think about a brand, what emotions are coming to your mind, right? Especially with young consumers. So brands need to work really, really hard from the very beginning, right? So one of the brands, let's say, example could be many, but let's take an example of Snitch or Rare Rabbit, right? They probably got the positioning right from the very beginning, right? Especially for young Indians, and Comet, let's say, for sneakers, right? All these brands have sort of gotten their positioning right from the very beginning. And then once the engine starts rolling, and then you have the community, you can actually be agile and adopt, right, as you receive the feedback. So it's not easy. It looks attractive. 50% of India is Gen Zs and Alpha. Let's go build for it. But it's not very easy market to crack, right? You need to be authentic. You need to provide convenience. You need to have community, and you need to get your positioning right, right? And I think that's where a platform like us can add a lot of value to founders, because during those 6 months of our program, that's where we are working with most of the founders. It's helping them find that positioning, helping them find the unique go-to-market comparative advantage, whether it's temporary, which they can further build on. Yeah.
So moving on to the next theme, which is travel and tourism. So during this week, two startups raised funding who are building around travel and tourism. First is Yatricart, and the second is Scapia. So what Yatricart is doing? So Yatricart offers last mile delivery in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So what they're doing is they are building on a franchise model where they open kiosk stores in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So currently they have 7 stores, and through these franchises they are able to deliver in tier 2, tier 3 towns, and they have raised an undisclosed amount from MMG Group, and the other one is Scapia. So Scapia raised around 40 million from Peak XV, Elevation Capital, and Z42. So what Scapia is doing is that they're offering a lifetime free credit card with travel rewards.
So the last startup was about what? Building for Bharat,
Yes.
for tier 2 and beyond. So I have an insight on that. Let me share that. Oh, this is the unique advantage of tier 2 and beyond, which India has, right? Let's say metro is 10 million plus, tier 1 is 5 to 10 million. This is the population size, right? Um, for India, will probably have 120 plus cities between the population of 300,000 to 1 million, right, in the coming years. So no other country globally has that except China. Maybe China has 100 cities with 1 million plus population, right? So a lot of brands now who are trying to build in the consumer space need to cater to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, right? All these are there, and all of them have unique challenges in terms of how do you reach the end consumer. So founders need to be very careful in case they are doing top-down thinking, that who is your end consumer, right? So my suggestion to founders building in consumer space is to get spend a lot of time you know knowing your end user, spending time maybe doing open-ended conversations, maybe doing interviews, demographics, improve your demographical understanding. And I think this is huge opportunity, right? No other country globally has this opportunity right now. And we'll probably have this, and this also leads to a unique demographic dividend period, right? In which the number of employed population is now greater than number of unemployed population, right? This will probably last for next 30-35 years. So we have that window. Now, see, other side of the coin is like someone could debate, okay, you have employed population greater, but then the per capita income is still $2,800 or what, $3,000, right? So that's well taken, because the denominator is so large that is pulling down the average, right? So we can go back to several frameworks when you're thinking about tier 2 and beyond. You can think of, Bloom, Sajid Pai has this framework of India 1, 2, 3. You can do your own slicing and dicing, but there are several markets for which you can build within India. You don't need to limit yourselves to tier 1 only, right? So that was the point which I wanted to make. Like,
So moving on to the next startup. So as I was previously mentioning, the next startup that we'll be talking about is Scapia. So Scapia has raised around 320 crores from Peak XV, Elevation Capital, and Z42. So what Scapia does is that it offers free lifetime credit card for international travelers, and based on the transactions that they do, they offer rewards to them.
Right. So travel is another theme which is again linked to Young India theme, which we discussed earlier. Do you have anything which you want to share about inbound, outbound number of trips, etc.? If you don't have anything, then we can move ahead.
So India's outbound tourism of the total travel and tourism market is approximately 5% in 2024 and is expected to grow at a CAGR of 11.4%. And for outbound travel, the most common destinations that people visit is Dubai, United States, Qatar, Kuwait, and many more. So based on the information available online, we can see that the major reason for people traveling for in outbound tourism is leisure and holidays. Although in some countries like Dubai, UAE, and US, the purpose of travel is from 10 to 20% for business, and usually the age group of 20 to 45 is the age group which travels the most, which comprises of approximately 57% of the total India's outbound travel.
Okay. So travel is something we can discuss in the coming weeks. Probably one session where we can discuss in detail. Probably we can invite Riksha also because she's working with you on this travel space. But here probably we can further break down travel into international travel, local number of trips. Then we can further slice and dice the data, right? What is the end purpose of the trip? Whether this is a family trip, work plus leisure, all those buckets which you have created, and we can discuss that, right? We can do that separately, like probably next week or something. We can put together 10-15 minutes of nuggets. Okay, so thank you everyone for tuning in, listening to our conversation. I think what if you like our content, you can always go subscribe to us. I think Achal will put in the link to our distribution list, and you can enter your email ID. In case you're a founder who's building around Bharat, who's building around Young India theme, we are always happy to connect. You can send us your pitch. The link to the pitch will also be in the description, and we'll be happy to connect. Thank you. And thank you, Achal and Vatsal, for putting this together. Thank you.